Hey guys, Dave Walker here, hockey manager at Great Park Ice. I'm joined by Jon Mainberger, Vince Valles, and Dean Wilson. All of our hockey managers here at the rinks and at Great Park. And we're just here to kind of expand on some of the stuff that we've been doing during this downtime with the COVID-19 going on. And we thought that kind of putting together a little bit of a podcast type of form would be a great way for us to really get a lot of information out to our customers, both in our youth and adult departments. So we've been brainstorming a lot of ideas and a lot of concepts we'd like to kind of expand upon and kind of give you guys as much information as we can. I know we send some emails out to everybody explaining the times and situations and things that are going on, but sometimes all the information doesn't always get out as clear as it can through via email platform. So we thought this would be considering the time that we're going through, a great opportunity for us to really sit down and kind of dig into some of the topics that we get asked about on a daily basis. So we hope you enjoy everything that we're kind of putting together here, and hope you get a lot out of this. This next 45 minutes of talking amongst the hockey managers. I guess we get right at it. Our first real thing we really want to discuss and kind of dive into is the current climate of hockey here in California amid this COVID-19 epidemic that we're all faced with and we're all dealing with, and how it's really hit the kind of the hockey, hockey world here, and kind of where it kind of leaves us right now. So I know, Jon, you got any any thoughts and kind of comments on where we are currently?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a big thing for us right now is just to think about, we're all in this together. That mantra has kind of been around, different type of media outlets right now. But the major thing for us is just to remember that, hockey is a small part of what we do, and to make sure that everyone's safe and, things like that. But I mean, to really get into it, it's kind of tough for all of us, who live in the rink and spend a lot of time in the rink. It's really a place for our kids to be happy and to be free, and, to spend the time and grow and develop the passion for the game that we're all, involved in and super excited to be a part of. With that being said, the rink gives us a sense of, normalcy. It gives us an opportunity to see those familiar faces. And with that gone, it's a little bit interesting for us to how, figure out different ways to navigate, what our day-to-day looks like outside of the rink. And we're, all of us on this platform right now are definitely aware of that. I think the current state of the rink right now is we're still a little bit unclear on what our return date really is going to look like. We're really trying to make sure that we comply with all the government guidelines and everything that's going on. We want to make sure that everyone's safe. So as more dates come down the pipeline through our governor, obviously it got passed on to our upper management, and then in return gets handed down to us. The unfortunate part, and just to be a little bit transparent, is we're not super clear on what our return date will be. I know there's been some stuff tossed out in regards to April 19th, and I'm sure that's pushed back a little bit. But as soon as we get more information, we'll definitely try to get that out in any platform we can, maybe this, emails obviously, and anything else we can do. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a time that, we're all as families, as individuals are kind of dealing with right now, and doing our best to kind of stay home and stay safe. And I think, this time has really allowed us as a kind of a department to really sit back and really evaluate everything and kind of come up with different ideas. Hence this kind of podcast idea of really what are some other ways that we can really engage our customer base and get information out to them. So, you kind of
Absolutely.
try and take the positive out of every situation. And I think if anything, this time has really allowed us to really sit back and really, reflect and review everything that we're doing. How can we make that better? Where are avenues that, we can really reach out to customers that we're not really using. And we've done that through different avenues thus far. So, I think leading up to kind of the kind of the closure of everything. I know we had been talking about the current spring rec season, and we were pretty excited about our numbers, and then kind of the names and divisional names that we kind of come up with and different ideas. And it's always fun to kind of brainstorm and pick kind of different things to kind of use as names for divisions and teams. I don't know, Vinny, you got anything you want to expand on that? I know there was some pretty cool ideas floating around.
Yeah, I know with the 6U and 8U, right, and 10U, we've tried to go with something a little different, right? We bring them back for 6U luxury cars. That's always something that people, as kids, you're always looking at. I mean, I was a big car person when I was growing up too. I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna play for Audi or Mercedes or whatever it is, right? Like, it's kind of cool to get that team camaraderie around that one. For 8U, we have Hall of Fame, kind of taking it back to those old veterans that made a big impact in hockey, and everyone knows their names, right? That's why they're in the Hall of Fame. They've done something great. So we have some cool names, obviously. Scott Niedermeyer, Tim Solani, right? Those names will be coming around. Paul Correa as well. 10U, we got Star Wars, right? Who doesn't like Star Wars, especially right now? It's such a big impact in the culture across the youth. And even everyone, old fan, right? Old fans, they're constantly talking about Star Wars and just seeing what they're doing currently across, the movie industry and whatnot. 12U, 14, we kind of went with a little bit different. We went for European hockey names for the 12U, kind of going back to, watch your playing days a little bit, seeing where you were at one now, which is cool. I think it's great. And then for 14U, the AHL teams, the teams that used to be in the AHL or possibly in the ECHL now, wherever leagues they're in or currently not in. And then 18U with old hockey brands, right? You got to bring it back to Jofa, right?
Classics.
The classics, yeah, exactly. So it's fun, kind of like we were talking about. It's so fun to just be able to get together and talk about those different ideas we want to bring in. Try and change up. We don't want to keep it the same every season. We try and change it the best we can to within our grasp and our reach. We can't overextend that time. So
yeah.
Sorry, but I know that there's been times, throughout our, in-house history where, parents kind of are wondering where we come up with these ideas and why they're not always hockey driven. Each season, it's always a challenge to come up with new names that kids are going to buy into, yet in the hockey scope, there's obviously not enough hockey content probably to create, season after season names. So it's kind of cool for us to maybe give a little insight on what we're thinking when we try to create these names.
Yeah.
It's not always easy, and we always try our best. But yeah,
it's kind of, it's kind of cool too. When we sit in that room and we try to come up with different ideas, and that the division of the old hockey brands, it's kind of cool. It throws, gives a lot of memories to myself of some of the names that I grew up when I was their age, 6, 8, 10U. I'm using those brands that no longer exist anymore. So it kind of kicks back some old hockey memories.
Hopefully the young guys understand that those were hockey brands. We didn't just make them up. Those are relevant. Not major brands that you might see today, but
So I guess exactly. Yeah. So I guess really, when we're looking at our youth and our adult stuff right now, like, kind of forecasting where we are right now with our grassroots, with our initiation and our in-house and, the spring select and travel, kind of, we've gotten a lot of emails, a lot of questions over the last, number of weeks about all of it. Is it going to be canceled? When will it begin? How will it differ when we come back? And I know we all know that it's right now, there is no answer to it. There's thoughts and ideas based on current timetables that we're kind of playing with, which, like John, you mentioned, is kind of out of our hands. We're really relying on state and federal kind of mandates. Obviously, that's what we're following. But give any kind of like a forecast on programs of kind of where we are right now in terms of like initiation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our initiation's kind of, since it's what we consider our grassroots, it's kind of in a decent place. I think where we're at, regardless of what our timeline is we can kind of pick off where we left off in each respective building. The great thing about that and our objective is just going to continue to stay the same. With our grassroots programs, we really just want to focus on, building that foundation, creating the stepping stones and continue to develop. So even in the current situation, it also gives us a time to kind of sit back and look into what we've been successful at, and also enhance some things that we could improve on to reach our goal, which is, the continued development and, getting kids prepared for whatever that hockey journey might look like. So just to sum up your question, really is just, I think for us, it's in a pretty good place. We'll be able to continue to just pick up where we left off theoretically. And I think that kids will be excited to get back on the ice, and we'll be excited to, get going again with the initiation.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I know there's a lot of talk on Cross Rinks. So we try to be similar in structure when it comes to a lot of these things across the buildings, but obviously there's a lot of different moving parts when it comes to building the building in terms of ice availability and time and numbers and whatnot that we always deal with. But in regards to our in-house league there, Vinny, what do you think? Like, what's your opinion where we are right now, and kind of where you think where we can kind of take this once we get back?
I think we kind of are in a good direction, right? We ended and we, our last season, then we only had our draft skates, and then the following weekend, shut down. So it really, basically puts us on a pause, right? I believe we're not really going to be in too much trouble with it, but when it comes down to, we really got to see, right? Kind of, it's up in the air. We don't know how much ice is going to be available. We're hoping we're going to have quite a bit. To have options of doing multi-touches, right, throughout the week, to be able to give the opportunity for whatever it is, right? I know people are itching to get back on the ice, so I'm hoping that that's what we'll be able to do, right? And keep it convenient for everyone too, without having
definitely. I think that kind of goes into what I kind of just said earlier too. It's like, because of the situation we've has been kind of placed in front of us, right? That that we had, that it's forced us to really sit back and use the time to think of ways to improve, think of ways to reach our customer base, think of ways to, and just overall improve.
Absolutely.
And I think when the ball is rolling every day, and we've got all the grassroots stuff going and adult stuff going on, and there's got to be time, and we have to make time for, figuring out what we can do to improve. But sometimes the amount of time that you need is not always there because of so many other things going on. I think this time right now, it's allowed us to really step back and take a look and kind of evaluate, what are we doing that's good? What are we doing that we really need to take a look at to see how we can improve? So like I said, I think this is a crucial time.
I couldn't agree more, because I think that, hockey in California it's a 365, right? And in other parts of the world, or maybe in the US, they have different types of seasons. Surprisingly enough, for people who don't really know, we do hockey nonstop. With that being said, just like you were elaborating on, is we are always on a go. And that could be good, but it also, sometimes we can't really look in the mirror like we like to, and then really, self-reflect on things we do and things that we've done and how we can improve and make things better. So I couldn't agree more with you. And I know we've all talked about individually the fact that, this time it's difficult, it takes away from what our normal is, but I think that it's also created a moment for us to sit back and really dive in and ultimately provide, and give us a new direction on what we can do to make what we do better.
I think also just reaching out to our customers, like we've been doing with trying to get some feedback, right? Some feedback is, you're a little hesitant to read on what they say, but that's why we step back and look at it, and it gives us the opportunity to fix it or to improve on it, right? Because that's going to create more value for our programming, for our customers. So I think that's just going to continue, always taking those steps in the right direction.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's completely agree with that. And I know from a club standpoint too, I know our tier tryouts are originally set for the end of May, and that's going to be drastically affected as well. Obviously, right now nothing has changed, but if this stay in place kind of that we're living with right now continues, obviously that would get pushed back as well. So this whole thing it's affecting, everything from our youth grassroots to our, your junior ducks, your lady ducks, as well as our, our adult leagues and the coaches as well. So it's not only focused on one kind of area of our kind of department. It's, everything to do with, our building is really kind of dealing with this and this kind of new way of kind of trying to navigate through what's happening and really stay connected with our customers. And, it's I think, like I said, it's times like this, I think, that allows you to really forces you to think outside the box.
I mean, that's why we're here, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of stuff that, in a running day when we're up and operational, that obviously we can't do right now. So we got to use that time to, continue to, grow these relationships and
100%.
and try and improve the product that when we come back, we can give our customers, more. So, and so in terms of that, our rec league, I know Vinny, before this whole shutdown, we were discussing kind of scheduling and kind of some of the things that, that we kind of discussed over the last 2 seasons, how we've broken down our divisions with the East, West, and South, and, and kind of where the kids are playing, and kind of, if you want to elaborate on that and kind of what we're kind of still trying to do to better that kind of whole dynamic, as well as maybe, reaching out and kind of discussing our end of the year parties and whatnot, and kind of some of the things that we're hoping to improve on.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think going back to the scheduling, right? Like with splitting up different divisions amongst like certain rinks that are close next to each other, kind of creates that convenience for each family, right? Like with Great Park, we strictly want to keep it at Great Park, and even with games, try and keep them as much as possible depending on the ice availability. And which is basically what it comes down to, right? Like when there's certain things that are going on throughout the year, sometimes those conflicts where you're going to have to go and play somewhere else. But we're always working and trying to make sure that teams that sign up for certain divisions are going to be playing within those rinks, right? Especially practices, clinics. I mean, that's our main goal, right? We want to make it big enough to where maybe it turns into teams play amongst their own divisions, and then maybe it turns into a playoff across all divisions, right? With something that could be really cool that we could build off of.
And I think that, like, with our schedule, our ultimate goal is try to get ahead of things, right? We talked about, just a little bit ago, and I still think it kind of, this time gives us a little bit of an opportunity with a little bit of uncertainties in the aspect that we don't know what the program is going to look like around us, and their needs of ice coming back into the facility. It does give us a little bit of an opportunity to try to jump ahead and maybe see and forecast our needs and our division scopes to maybe get ahead of and get those schedules together. We've had some challenges in the past, so I think this is a good opportunity for us as well.
Yeah, I think it's also big thing, right? We always want to, as people always tell me or ask me, like, how come certain divisions aren't playing the same time, same day every weekend, right? And that comes back to the scheduling as well. If there's a way we can get to that, that'd be awesome, right? I mean, it's super easy for everyone else, and I know it's tough when you see other sports that are able to do that and we can't, but they understand, right? And they work with it because they know they love the sport, and we create a great product for their children, right? And a great atmosphere for them as well, and they enjoy that too.
And I just think that, like, something to keep in perspective, for listeners, is the fact that, hockey is a big part of, our facilities, but it's not our only, sport or outlet. We have a lot of different things that go on. So hockey's huge. We have, a ton of different divisions and leagues and stuff, from college to juniors to, so on and so forth. But nonetheless, those are some factors that we always talk about, that play into our scheduling and things like that. So
yeah, no, definitely.
I'll chime in on this one with the youth hockey down here. It's a little different. We play with other facilities down here.
Yeah.
We had 3 weeks left in our season when all this went down. So it's going to be a little tougher. We had to cancel draft skates and things like that. But the big thing is what I'm noticing, and people are, like, even adults email me and youth, and people just miss seeing other people. I mean, that's
Oh,
that's
100%.
the thing. It's like John said there. It's more than the hockey. It's like everyone was your family. You don't realize, you kind of feel like you're walking around lost at your house because you don't see the people you see day in, day out. So
Absolutely.
but
Family.
down here for the rec league, yeah, we play other facilities, so it gets a little more complicated because we play SDIA and, you know, here at Poway, Carlsbad, Escondido, Croc, and La Jolla. We play at all the facilities. So
Wow.
Yeah.
But I like how we went to the East-West. We were pushing for years, and it's been working great. I being at Yorba all those years, once we did that, I didn't have one single complaint over the last few years. The people are happy.
Yeah, I think the thought process initially was just the fact that it eliminates a little bit of the travel. Obviously, like Vinny was said, ultimately there are going to be some, you know, times that we have to make a commute to other facilities. But nonetheless, we really wanted just to make sure that we were trying to keep in mind, you know, families and their day-to-day lives. So
Yeah.
You know what? I think a big thing,
John, you know, we got son has a soccer game and a hockey game. It's two different places. It's always a little more complicated, you know, if you have to drive 45 minutes away. So, but yeah, no, it's been a great new system we got.
very cool.
you know, Dino, you brought up a good point there, you know, talking about people that just miss being around. I think I think everybody, us included, you take for granted the enjoyment that comes of just being inside a rink when you love the game of hockey so much. You know, you take for granted just being there, like not even being on the ice, just being inside the rink and
100%.
feeling the cold, hearing the blades cutting through the ice, the glass hitting, like the puck hitting the glass, just all the sounds that are synonymous with the game of hockey. Like you end up missing those things that you have in an everyday life. And then from a player's perspective, you know, just being in the locker room with your friends and after games, before games, you know, and getting to be on the ice with your friends and making new friends. It's like, you don't realize, you know, how important the actual game of hockey is to your everyday life.
I couldn't agree more.
So,
you know, I have a son that plays, you know, and what's weird is during these times, you have so many families that reach out to you and just small conversation, you know, day-to-day stuff. And what's the ironic thing is a lot of the families and relationships were based off of hockey, really. You know, I didn't come into knowing a lot of these families. A lot of these families were either my son played on the team or, you know, just being at the facility and seeing you every day, you build these small relationships. And then, you know, you try to keep in touch a little bit, but at the same time, you do miss a lot of the day-to-day faces that you normally see, you know, during these moments.
Yeah, absolutely. So a good segue for there. So Dean Wilson, you know, you've been part of California hockey longer than John, Vince, and myself. You know, you grew up playing around here. You grew up coaching for many years. Like, you know, when you sit back and you kind of look kind of where we are right now, going through this, you know, this time, you know, does it, you know, how does that, you know, how do you react to that? And how do you kind of see that, you know, over the last 25 years that you've been around the California hockey in terms of things that you've seen come and California hockey's had to deal with?
Yeah, I mean, this segment could go on for about another 3 hours. But yeah, no, I mean, I grew up out here, played in San Diego my whole life. And it's just over time, hockey's changed in so many aspects, not just the game itself, where it's more of a speed game. And, you know, Walker's not too many generations behind me there with the with the dirty play and the holding and clutching. It's more skilled, and, you know, it's more enjoyable to watch. But here in California, I mean, like I discussed with Walker the other day, once Wayne Gretzky got here in '88, hockey exploded. You know, the kids at school where I grew up were like, what's hockey? All of a sudden, we're talking about the LA Kings. So, you know, it's kind of nice that way. And then you got the Ducks came along years later. And, yeah, I mean,
I just think that even for me in my short time being around the rink, I mean, like, look at the cool opportunities that are provided. You know, I mean, you can come to the sport with our Learn to Play and for 4 weeks and try for free. Just try hockey, you know, which leads into other programs that we have, Little Ducks, you know, which is a 6-week program that, you know, for a small fee, for $185 you can get a full set of gear. Like that's amazing in itself. And that doesn't even tap into like older kids now who can come into, you know, the high school scope, you know, maybe starting the sport a little bit later in, you know, in all respects, you know, 12, 13 years old, and can make a junior varsity team and play for possibly Edison High School for you, Dave, or for Vinny over at Woodbridge. But the reality is that's an option, right? And to think that you can do that now, you can come in pretty much at any age and play ice hockey. I mean, I'm sure that's pretty cool to see.
Oh yeah, it's awesome because that's I mean, to learn to play, and we all know the initiation, the little ducks, everything from that learn to play it's tremendous because they, you know, they get the voucher, they get the gear. You know, I'm a parent. I'm not going to go spend $500 for my kid to try hockey for 4 weeks. You know,
Yeah.
So it's a great program because, like, what I was going to go back to the SoCal hockey is, you know, back in the day, I'd practice at 5:30 in the morning. You know, before school. You know, so things have definitely changed. More rinks. When I played, that you played for your kind of your travel team at your rink, and then there was Team California. There was no AAA. So hockey's gotten so big. Obviously, I don't have numbers in front of me. I'd be curious to see how many numbers there were in '88 in California compared to 2020. You know, so, but yeah. It's definitely growing, and kids are interested. Like I said, when I went to school, hockey, what's that? You know, now, you know, parents have season tickets to Ducks games, some to Kings games, and, you know, goals down here, you know, they get 8,000 people almost every game. So it's awesome to see over the years how hockey's grown. And then we could go on and on, like the Noah Clarks and the Gabe Gauthiers that I coached a little bit roller hockey, the roller hockey generation that had, you know, played a few games in NHL. So it's just, and now we see these kids getting picked in the first round from, you know, York and all those kids. So it's kind of awesome. And it all starts with the grassroots, the, you know, learn to plays, the roller hockey rinks, ice hockey rinks. So it's awesome to see.
I think a big part too that helps us, right, is our ownership, right? They provide and give the opportunity for hockey to grow.
Absolutely.
You know, and with the Ducks and with Off and Perry, right, when he was with us, he had also gave a lot of money to be able to give these kids gear, right, and provide it if they sign up in that program right after. So it's definitely, we're in a good position to be able to continue to help grow it. So
just one more question. Hey, Dave, what do you see on the topic of Southern California hockey? You know, I mean, obviously you do a AAA team and you're traveling all across the, you know, the country. You know, where do you think that, you know, everything lies in the aspect of what we're doing over here?
I mean, I think we're right on par with, you know, anybody else in any other state. You know, obviously you look at states like Minnesota, Michigan. I mean, the numbers that they have, obviously their numbers are higher. But I think in terms of kids playing the game, you know, and the kids that are moving on and whatnot, you see that some of these kids that are, you know, graduating through our programs, you know, you talk about Cam York, Ryan Johnson, these are 2 first-round draft picks to the NHL. You know, that's huge. You know, you're a first-round draft pick in the NHL. That says a lot about, you know, who you are as a player. And, you know, these kids have gone through, you know, our system. You look at Annie Pankowski, you know, Team USA. Like, there's another one gone through the Lady Ducks program. Like, we are doing a lot of great stuff with our kids in terms of development. And there's a lot of high-end skilled kids that are coming through the California hockey system. And you know, there's a large part is that you can play hockey 12 months of the year here. And, you know, it's
good and bad.
It's good and bad, right? And there's, you know, that there can be multiple different discussions on what's good, what's bad.
Yeah.
I can just tell you that it's providing opportunities, you know,
Very
and
cool.
It's providing other avenues for kids to continue to develop.
Pretty exciting.
And we've had in the last couple of weeks in the WHL draft, we've had some other Junior Ducks kids get drafted to the WHL junior. So there's a lot of great things that are happening in California hockey right now. And, you know, obviously, you know, all of us here who we kind of work for and represent, they're a big reason why. They're giving the kind of the outlets and the platforms for us to really help grow the game. And, you know, I think the kids and the customers are benefiting from that. And we're seeing some of these kids really move on and progress into their hockey careers and continue to chase your dream. So it's definitely moving and in the right spot. So there's a lot of great things to still come from California hockey. So
yeah, I think kind of Dave, building off what you said with saying Annie Pinkowski, right? Like it's not just boys, it's a bunch of girls, and she's just one of them, right? So many that have gone D1 scholarships, D3, right? Going to college or playing from the ladies.
Huge.
So it's definitely grown from all aspects.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the big thing to touch on now, Dave, is just what people can do during this type of situation. What should they be looking at? What should their day-to-day? I mean, ultimately, they want to continue to play hockey. Ultimately, they want to continue to grow. They want to continue to progress. Obviously, being in the ice facility isn't an option currently. So what do you think it looks like, and what things should they kind of start to look into?
Yeah, I think a big thing is, it can be a misconception is that when the ice is out or, you can't get on the ice, you cannot, there's no way to continue your skill development, right? And I think a lot of people are seeing now that there's a lot of stuff going online, a lot of skill development, kind of little skill sessions here or there that they can log on and follow. Obviously, we started with the last 2 sessions we've had last Saturday and this past Wednesday, kind of our Zoom training where kids can log in and kind of watch and practice and pick up some pointers and tips to work on while they're at home, whether it be in their backyard, in their living room, anywhere that they can find a little bit of space, right? So I think that there's a lot of stuff that they can continue to work on, obviously from stick handling to passing to shooting, right? Strength training, agility work, stretching. A big thing for hockey players, right? When you talk about muscles in our body that we're using on a day-to-day basis when we're skating, you're talking about groin muscles, hip flexors, quads, hamstrings, right? Your core muscles, like a lot of that stuff. If we're not going to use it, then all of a sudden we come back in, whatever is a month's time. That stuff's all going to be tight and sore. Yeah. So it's staying on a little bit of a regimen of stretching, taking some time each day to stretch. And during that time of stretch, it's a good way to reflect on, like just the game of hockey and just know that you're doing as much as you can given the time. And it's not like some have more to do than others. Like we're all kind of stuck in the same spot where we're at home, we have confined spaces, and what can we do in those little spaces to get the most out of it? Right?
Yeah, creativity, right?
Exactly. It's becoming
outside the box. I mean, like
that's
you
what
said,
it is.
There's so many different forums that you could use as a reference point, but nonetheless, it kind of is up to you on what you want to kind of think about. I'm sure that maybe you were on a pond when you were worried about, thinking about what do you want to do in the Stanley Cup final. For us, we might be on the middle of a driveway, but either way, I mean, you can create a little scenario and just have fun with it.
Yeah. No, I think that's the biggest thing is just to stay active, right? Is to stay active. Whether it's just standing in one spot with your hands and your stick and just rolling your stick back and forth, just anything to keep active, right? To keep your mind, away from, this time and keep it kind of in the thought of hockey, and this will end at some point, right? We don't know when, but it will end. And when it does, we'll all be more excited to get back to the rink than ever before. And I think whatever we can do now in the interim, how little it is, and how little space we have, it's definitely going to benefit us more than just doing nothing, right? So, and I like you said, it's a good time to think outside of the box. I think that's for everybody, us included. This whole thing, the origin of this was us thinking outside of the box of how we can get some information out. How can we stay connected, right? When you're
and be positive, right?
Yeah.
And I think mindset's everything. Like we talk about it on the ice and, off the ice and in these times is, you got to be positive. I know it's a tough time, to be positive with everything going around you. You might have families that are directly affected by this situation. And it's nerve wracking, from a father perspective, from, just a human perspective. It's a tough situation, but be positive, be positive that, like you said, Dave, we will be back. And, things we'll hopefully kind of pick up where we left off, and we get to see those familiar faces, and those friendships kind of rekindle again, and kids can do what they love, and we get to be in a in an area where we're excited. So
no, definitely. Well, guys, it's session 1 down. I think we covered a lot of great topics, and I hope the viewers and listeners get a lot out of this. We can say that our next session coming up, we will have a special guest. We'll have Rick Hutchinson here, our hockey director. We'll kind of dive a little bit more into our grassroots roadmap as it pertains from our learn to play all the way up through our high school and junior ducks, and
pathways,
and our pathways and different avenues for all of our customers that maybe have some questions about each one of those avenues, or are kind of unfamiliar with all of them. It'll be a great episode for them to kind of sit and listen to kind of what it is and why we've created it, and what's our thought process behind it all. And we can kind of put Hutch in the hot seat.
You guys have all been waiting. You guys have all been waiting.
Yeah.
It's your chance.
Yeah. So I appreciate you guys jumping on here. To our customers, I'd like to say one thing. We're as a department, we're trying to do as much as we can to stay connected.
Absolutely.
We've got our Zoom calls going where the kids and adult players can log in and really kind of help work on those skills and get some ideas of what we're doing, as well as a Hockey Hotline podcast here, where we're going to try and really touch upon some subjects that really would be cool information to kind of hear via us talking, opposed to just getting an email, because you get a little bit more of an explanation behind certain things that I think would provide a lot more clarity to our customers. So.
And that big thing for us is, if you guys have any topics or any things you guys want to touch on, this is an outlet for you as well as us. So you could reach out to any of us.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate everybody taking the time to log in here, and I hope everybody has gets some good tips and some good information from what we just kind of discussed. And we look forward to talking to you guys soon.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys soon.
Stay safe, everyone.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Stay safe.
Bye, guys.
Bye.